worst. Yeah. Well, I ate it 2.5 hours ago, so I don't know what to tell you. 5 o'clock, man. I'm dying over here. I'm going right to bed. Yo, what's going on, everyone? Good evening. It's the Showdown live before lock. Yeah, we're starting a little late today. Not my fault, as people like to blame me for, Jordan.
Whose fault is it?
Damn, David Eckenroth. It's the NBA starting.
Oh.
Live before lock went up to 7:30. Here we are. We got 45 minutes around that to make this happen. So we're going to dive right into it. Spare you the pleasantries. I'll say this much, though. That fella right there, that fine-looking fella right there with the nice beard, starting to get a little white in the front. I see a little white.
Yeah, it's been pretty white for a little while, but yeah, it continues to get whiter and whiter by the day.
I like it.
Thank you.
Distinguished gentleman. That's Neil Orfield at Player Q DFS. Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D. My wife told me the other day I hadn't shaved in a little bit. She said, you're starting to get those white patches over here. It's coming.
Oh no,
man.
Yeah, it's coming for all of us.
Whatever. Just want to keep my hair.
I mean, yeah, you're preaching to the choir.
What about you? You never have a hat off. You losing it?
Oh yeah, I'm like I shave it. I shave it bald because I shave it almost bald because I'm very much bald. And yeah, I've got the male pattern baldness pretty bad.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't think I've ever seen you without a hat. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen you without a hat.
I just posted a picture on Twitter in a thread yesterday where I didn't have a hat on, and it from the front you can't really tell the extent to which I'm balding because like I still have hair here, like I don't have really like it's receded but not like all the way.
Is it wrong for me to ask you to take your hat off? If
I mean, it's gonna look extra bad here with the light on me.
I wasn't gonna do it, but yeah, oh, it looks good, dude. All right, so show me. From
it does not look good. Come on now,
dude. Go if you went full Bic, you could pull off a fully Bicked head.
Yeah, I have a good head shape for it.
Yeah. My head shape's like an egg. So I shaved it once when I was younger. I'll never do it. That's why if I go bald, I'm in a lot of trouble. You actually have a head that could pull it off.
Yeah, I'm lucky in that way, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good
if you're going to be bald, you might as well have the head shape for it.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I wouldn't have asked you if you didn't tell me that you just posted a picture of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, how you feeling, man? We got Bills and Bucs. Vita Vea is out tonight, by the way.
Yeah.
And the Bucs have basically no tight end depth. Or the Bills, sorry. The Bills have basically no tight end depth.
I was thinking about it. I was like, do they? Yeah.
Yeah. The Bills have those defensive injuries too. I mean, maybe this game sees some points.
Maybe. I mean, we can, I would expect there to be some points in this game. It's decent defenses. Like we don't have any, it's not like the Raiders are on this slate or something like that, or the Commanders where you can just expect a ton of points, but I can see this game. I mean, we got the Bills, really good offense. The Bucs have been like extremely hit or miss all year, so they could put up some points. Yeah. Should be a fun one.
Yeah. Kicks Good said, yeah, this game could shoot out. It's possible. Isn't Baker crippled? I think he's fine. He got a full practice in yesterday.
Fair point though. Fair point.
Chris Godwin got a full practice in yesterday. Yeah. We'll see, man. We'll see. All I know is we're going to talk about all of it. We'll run the Sims too. I think for a 45-minute show, we should probably get the Sims set up and see what we're getting out of that as well, just to kind of expedite the process for some people in the event that they're, not premium subs, maybe show some stuff, lineup generator. That might help.
Yeah, for sure.
So Jordan, if you want, you can start running those now.
And something, Luffy? So I've been doing the Showdown lineup generator odds today for the first time. Like I've always done the contrarian lineups. I tried looking at the chalky lineups today because it occurred to me like you can have lineups that have like cumulative ownership that is pretty chalky that still like are unique because they leave enough salary on the table. Like they just use different combinations and still find some good lineups. And I actually found like in the chalky bucket of lineups. So I Jordan, if you haven't already set it up, I wouldn't mind looking at some chalky lineups today to see if we can find some that like fit the correlations that we're looking for, the construction that we're looking for, leaving salary on the table, even while using players that are somewhat chalky.
Hell yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll do Sims, we'll do lineup generator and all that stuff. We'll make it work for sure.
For sure.
Happy to have you guys with us though. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. Take a single second to atone for your sins here on the NFL Live Before Lock Show. Subscribe to the channel as well. All that stuff goes a long way. We appreciate you guys for it. We got north of 1,000 people watching us right now. Hey, listen, basketball's happening. Can't ask for more than that, right? Just kicked it off.
Yeah. I didn't play tonight. I can't do it. Like on nights when we're doing shows, I'm like, I can't do the basketball.
Yeah.
So I took the night off. But yeah, excited to have both going on.
Well, hey man, life is good. Let's get into it.
Yep.
I pulled up the top single game and showdown tool. So this tool that we have, it gives you guys know, top play percentage, like top play probability, captain ownership, optimal captain probability. If all of this sounds like a lot to you, we can explain it, but it makes sense. Leverage score, all of that. How crazy is that top end of that, the distribution towards the top of the top overall play, where you have Diggs and Allen at 37% top play probability and Allen at 25%, and then nobody else in the double digits.
That is insane. Yeah, I had not looked at I don't spend a lot of time looking at the top play probability, but like that is pretty jarring. I'm surprised that Mike Evans didn't get up there into double digits at the very least.
I know Mike Evans has negative leverage, but man, against this banged up secondary for the Bills, I like him. The reason that it's tough though is because you have Chris Godwin. It's such a $2,200 cheaper than Mike Evans. Seems crazy when you've got the same quarterback throwing to him, and they have identical target shares on the season. They literally have the same amount of targets on the season this year. So just looking at some of these top end plays, you're going to have to make some decisions. Some guys are going to have to get sacrificed. Like you're not going to be able to play everyone, especially if you're only playing a few lineups, and you're not going to be able to be overweight on everyone that you like. Does Mike Evans end up, being a kind of like does he end up being somebody that you get less of because of that price point? Or are you willing to go overweight on a guy like Mike Evans because he's at that price point?
So I'm probably going to end up underweight to Mike Evans because I like to leave salary on the table for one thing. So I think I'm just going to be going the other way. But I feel like the Bucs are such a hard showdown team because it feels like they have games so often where just like where Mike Evans gets, we saw it last year, like 5 touchdowns in one game, or like, I mean, I guess it doesn't happen that often. It's kind of a rare occurrence, but like certainly they can do it where they just focus on one receiver the entire game. Has happened certainly a number of times over the past few years. So it's always scary to fade either of these guys. My guess is that I will be underweight to Mike Evans. I'm going to start running my lineups, but I think I'm going to end up underweight to Mike Evans, probably overweight to Chris Godwin. I do think like a lot of sharp players are probably going to be playing more Chris Godwin than Mike Evans, just because of, as you mentioned, like all of the underlying metrics, like they're really similar. Mike Evans has just been the one who has scored the touchdown so far this year. Now Chris Godwin is 2,200 cheaper. So it's just so much easier to get to Chris Godwin. I will have some lineups. Like I'm not going to completely full fade Mike Evans because he always has that like 3 touchdowns, 100-yard game in his back pocket. Like that's always something that he could pull out. So not fully fading it, but I'm going to be underweight to Mike Evans, overweight to Chris Godwin.
It is funny though, because there are some cheap guys that make it relatively easy to kind of play who you want. They're not going to make you feel great, but Devin Tompkins is a guy who, from a target share perspective, you could do a whole lot worse at that price point.
Yeah.
Deontay Hardy's $1,000. Trent Sherfield, again, none of these, it's a showdown slate. We wouldn't be talking about these even on a 3 or 4 game slate. But Deontay Hardy, Trent Sherfield, and then the other guy, we have to bring this up. I want to make sure that everyone here in chat knows what you mentioned to me before we started the show. Yep. They can make their own decisions off of this, because I don't think there's a right answer. Okay. By the way, how sick is that throwback looking box with the light behind it?
I love that. I was just noticing that. Yeah, that is so cool.
Crazy, right? Cool. I always try and get the color scheme right, and it never is perfect. That just turned out.
That pops. Perfect. Yeah, that works. Works great.
Crazy. Everything with that creamsicle uniform seems to work. It's good stuff.
It is great. I like those uniforms.
Tell me what you saw on Andy Isabella.
All right. So I had not even thought about Andy Isabella all day. Like he has no role on this team. And then my friend Scott Barrett sent me a little tidbit from Joe Buscaglia. And what he says is somebody had asked him less 12 personnel and more of the old look with the offense tonight. And Joe Buscaglia, who is a Bills beat reporter, said, "Oh yes, get ready for a heavy amount of 11 personnel, right down to Andy Isabella potentially being that prototypical slot receiver Josh Allen has long been comfortable with. It might be about getting back to basics tonight. Somebody responded, of course, and this was exactly what you said when I sent you the link. Somebody responded, Joe is someone who has watched him all the way back through college. Despite his size, he's never been a slot guy, much closer to Lockett in his game than a Welker or Edelman. Joe responded, the Bills view him as a slot receiver only, and that's how they use him. So I like, we don't have Andy Isabella projected. I had no intention of playing any Isabella tonight. I don't think he has played much this season, if at all. I guess I need to look into Andy Isabella because I had not previously. But now this quote makes me think like he's going to get zero ownership if he has any shot of playing even like 15 snaps, like as running routes out there. Like I would want to have some Andy Isabella in my lineup. So I don't know that it's actually going to happen. This is just based on one beat reporter, but like if Andy Isabella is out there for 15 snaps, if he runs 10 routes at least, at zero ownership, that is really interesting in a large field showdown GPP.
It is tough,
right?
Because
like, where is this coming from? Where is this coming from?
I know
they don't need him. They have so many other receivers ready, like who have been running, 15 routes a game. You got the Trent Sherfield, Deontay Hardy, Khalil Shakir, like all these guys can step in and play the slot. They've all played some slot this year. And now they're just going to go to Andy Isabella instead. I just don't know.
I know, because the guy like Khalil Shakir was battling for wide receiver 3 all throughout the summer. And he lost it. He scared. He's not very involved. But like you said, if this is the case, then what? You're telling me that we have to guess between all of these guys that are all, you're telling me I have to guess between Sherfield and Shakir and Hardy, and then a guy who hasn't seen a snap all season long?
It was already ugly. Like even before we had Andy Isabella in the mix, it was ugly. I was trying to figure out what to do with Hardy, Sherfield, Shakir, like who is going to get those Dawson Knox routes run. And it really just like Knox has kind of played all over the field. It seems that all of these guys have played at least some slot. So like, it's ugly. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I do know that like, if that is true, and we have no reason to doubt this, like beat reporter saying he thinks Andy Isabella might get some run at zero ownership, I think you got to take some shots. If you're playing, maybe not in your first 20 lineups, you don't necessarily need to take a shot, but like if you're playing 150 lineups, like I do think that these are the types of spots that if a player is really going to be, sub 0.5%, if he's sub 0.5% ownership, that is a massive edge if he actually does put up a touchdown. If he gets 8-9 fantasy points at the Stone Min and nobody else gets there, like you're just so far ahead of the field at that point.
He is for sure active, right?
Yes.
Okay. I think
almost positive. Yeah. I didn't see him on the inactives.
Yeah, no, he's not. I just wanted to make sure. That wouldn't be great. But no, yeah, he is. He is. DeMar Hamlin inactive. Quentin Morris. That's the thing. Dawson Knox is out. Quentin Morris, they don't have any other tight ends.
Right.
So
they have literally one tight end, one active tight end.
So they're going to have to get creative here. Matt Gajewski talked about some possibilities, but we also know that this is a team that likes to run 12 personnel. I mean, look at the snaps that Knox and Kincaid have played. There's been a good amount of overlap in some of these games. Less since earlier in the season when they both played 80+% of snaps in week 1. But even last week, 63 and 61% of snaps, right? Kincaid missed the game. Kincaid missed the game, but Quentin Morris was there. He played 30% of snaps, but then 70 and 53. There's been some overlap between these two tight ends, quite a bit actually all season. Now Knox is out, Quentin Morris is out. What does that do for Dalton Kincaid today? Because in our tools, you've got a guy like Dalton Kincaid that is sitting at only 3.8 top play probability, but that's not as important because you have the 1.5x salary and fantasy points at captain. 14% optimal captain. We have him with a massive leverage score, both at utility and at captain today. How much of this is just sheer opportunity being on the field with nobody else out there?
Yeah, and talent. Like I do think that he's a talented pass catcher. They
Oh,
drafted him
sure,
to
sure.
basically be a receiver at the tight end position. Yeah, I mean, currently I didn't even realize. I just looked at my Dalton Kincaid. I currently have him in I believe every single one of my lineups in my first round. He just projects so well point per dollar. He's only 5,000, projects for over 12 fantasy points. Like you just got to imagine that he's going to be out on the field basically full time without Dawson Knox out there. Maybe not, but I would expect Dalton Kincaid to have a pretty huge role here for the Bills. The ownership is going to be there too. We've got him at 34% util ownership. I should actually refresh my single game tool. We have him at 9% captain ownership. Yeah, 34% util ownership. And we actually have positive, like pretty massive positive leverage on Kincaid in both. We have 9% captain ownership, 14% captain optimal, 34% util ownership, 45% util optimal. So he looks incredible tonight. So I'm not going to play him in 100% of lineups like I have him right now, but I'm probably going to be overweight to the field because he's just too cheap and we don't have the field jamming him in like I would expect.
Well, yeah, when I say sheer opportunity, I'm talking about the fact that there's always mouths to feed in this offense. And,
yeah,
competing for targets between him and Dawson Knox. So let's not forget, they just paid Dawson Knox a lot of money like a year ago. But
right.
That's gone now. And quite frankly, when you look at the target share on the Bills, it's not like anybody really stands out who isn't named Stefon Diggs, right? Outside of Stefon Diggs, who really in this offense do you go, man, really worried that the hierarchy, of opportunities is Diggs and then him and then him and then Kincaid. It's not really the way it's worked. Diggs has a 34% target share, and then Gabe Davis is at 14%. Kincaid's at 13%. Knox is at 12%. James Cook is at 9%. Hardy at 7%. Murray at 4%. Shakir at 3.9%. And Sherfield at 3.4%. So Kincaid has the third highest target share, essentially tied with Dawson Knox, who's out. He could be the guy today that sees another 8 targets, another 9 targets. It's entirely possible. And plus, they're going to need to do a lot with the maybe they won't. Maybe they won't. Tampa Bay offense pretty much stinks, while Baker Mayfield does. But the Bills defense has been, a sieve. They've had some real weaknesses. We saw it in London against Jacksonville. Yeah, they might not have allowed 30 to the Patriots, but coughing up 20 to the Patriots is like 40 to any other team when you're talking about Mac Jones at the helm. So, and a game-winning drive for Mac Jones, best performance of the year. Just looking at who they don't have and how often he's likely going to be on the field, you could argue Kincaid with the increase in playing time is the second target in the pecking order today for Buffalo, up behind Diggs.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at so we have, what do we have? We have Kincaid projected for just over 12 fantasy points. Gabe Davis, I think we have him for 10. So we actually have Kincaid projected better than Gabe Davis. And that makes sense. Like he's already been getting a decent number of targets, running, I think 57% of routes on the year. Now I would expect him to just I think he is the next, he'll probably be right there with Davis in terms of routes run would be my guess. And he's been commanding targets, for the routes that he's been out there. So yeah, I like Kincaid quite a bit here. I think he's just too cheap at 5,000 given his now expected role, probably playing more in the slot, probably just out on the field a ton. So yeah, I think Kincaid probably my second favorite option on the Bills tonight.
Let's take a look. Pull the Sims up, Jordan. I want to see how much Kincaid we're getting to in the Sims tool. Do that for me. So if you start 100, if you favorited 150 lineups, Jordan already ran it behind the scenes, generated 10,000 lineups in the contest generator to save us some time. So generated 10,000 lineups in the contest generator, went in, selected the contest, the slate, the contest size. Do me a favor. Okay, you're in exposures. So 52% Kincaid at the flex. Let's see how much Kincaid we have at captain. Can you go down? These are the 150 lineups that we starred, the top simulated ROI lineups. 13% at captain, so that is above the field. What do you think about that? I mean, 52% Kincaid out of 150, 13% at captain. 13% of captain's a pretty nice number. It's a pretty decent sized number. It's north of what we think the field's going to be at.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing is it's right in line with what the tools would tell us you should get. Our tools have him under-owned in the captain spot, so naturally we are getting more than the field. You say we have 13%. I wouldn't have been surprised if we got even more of Kincaid, but we have him optimal 14% of the time. So getting him 13% in the optimal makes a lot of sense to me. He's too cheap for his role. He's got a couple touchdown upside in his bag of tricks. It's certainly not the likeliest scenario that he's going to score multiple touchdowns here, but it is something that is within his range of outcomes. But even like at 5,000, what does he need? If he catches 6 balls for 80 yards, that would be a great game at 5,000. Or, there are a lot of ways for him to get to a number that would work on this single game slate.
Jordan, do me a favor. Let me see the Chris Godwin and Mike Evans ownership here. So go down. We obviously have a lot of digs at captain and in the flex. A lot of digs at captain. And that, it makes sense. We have him at 17% optimal, 37% top overall play. There's some cheap plays. Okay, so Chris Godwin, 32% at flex. How much Godwin in the captain spot? Mike Evans, 30% at flex. Okay. Godwin, 7% captain. It looks like we have a lot less Mike Evans at captain, potentially. I didn't see him. Did you see? There he is. 4% Mike Evans at captain. We do have him negatively leveraged in the captain spot, so that makes sense. What are you doing with the running backs? So we're starting with Rachaad White. Keyshawn Vaughn's getting some work, but he hasn't been good. Tucker's been essentially uninvolved, not even getting on the field. What do you end up doing with these running backs? Because Rachaad White, he's not efficient. This team doesn't run block well. He can get some opportunities in the passing game. We saw that kind of salvage for him last week. Where do you go in this backfield for Tampa?
Yeah, it's a really, really messy backfield for Tampa, because something that earlier in the day I had missed, that we have Chase Edmonds coming back from IR as well. So Chase Edmonds, weeks 1 and 2 was playing. Keyshawn Vaughn was inactive for those games. Rachaad White was the RB1. They actually had Sean Tucker playing ahead of Chase Edmonds. Sean Tucker is out inactive tonight. Keyshawn Vaughn. So now it's Rachaad White, Keyshawn Vaughn, Chase Edmonds. So I don't feel like Keyshawn Vaughn has done anything to like earn a role ahead of Chase Edmonds here.
He's really been bad.
Yeah, it's really an interesting spot where like maybe Chase Edmonds just comes in and is immediately the RB2 on this team at 200 at low ownership. So of these Tampa guys, I think so. I'm not playing a ton of the running backs in general. I think that I'll probably end up with the most of Chase Edmonds, just because we haven't projected for very little ownership, and he's 200, so he doesn't need to do much to pay off his price tag. There is a possibility that he's just not involved, that they want to give him some time to get back into it. They play Keyshawn Vaughn over him. But at this point, I kind of feel like we're projecting for lower ownership. He's a lower price tag than Keyshawn Vaughn. So I think that I actually have more interest in Chase Edmonds than Keyshawn Vaughn. I'm going to be underweight to Rachaad White. So maybe I'll have more of Rachaad White, but I'm going to be underweight to Rachaad White, probably a little bit overweight to the 5% ownership we have going to Chase Edmonds.
I mentioned to Matt this morning, when it comes to a guy like James Cook, you have unfortunately, he kind of plays in that Singletary role, which kind of sucks.
Yep.
It's not fun, but you know what? There's still something to be said about this guy. He's talented. He's averaging close to 5 yards per attempt. He's not frequently involved in the passing game, and he's not the go-to option in the goal line or at the red zone. But you look at red zone carries this year, it's like they're all of them. Josh Allen, Latavius Murray, James Cook, all right around this, like 11 or 12. Inside the 10, goal line carries. Cook is behind both of them, but not by a ton. He's going to get the bulk of the work in between the 20s. You just hope that he finds the end zone, and he might need to do it from 20 plus yards out, because Latavius Murray is always primed to vulture a touchdown or two. The way that you play this backfield could be really impactful on this slate. $4,800 Murray, $8,600 Cook.
Yeah, so I think that I prefer that James Cook does not score the touchdowns, because I'm going to be, I think, well underweight to James Cook and probably overweight to Latavius Murray, just because I think Latavius Murray has that kind of goal line role most likely. I think he's the likeliest to get kind of goal line looks, and he's significantly cheaper than James Cook. I'm not saying that James Cook is a bad play. I'm going elsewhere where I'm spending more money. So he's kind of in that range where I'd rather just pay up for, Diggs or Evans, Godwin, etc. I don't think I'm going to have, I think I'm going to be underweight. Maybe I'll have 20% or so of James Cook. Whereas Latavius Murray, I think I'm going to be well overweight. We're only projecting for about 15% ownership. I think he's got the goal line role. I think he's going to come in and take over basically all of the Damian Harris role as well. So he's kind of really, really coming into, I would think, some extra carries here tonight and maybe some targets as well. So at 4,800, I think Latavius Murray is pretty in play. Like 15% ownership is not no ownership. It's pretty fair. I think I'm not going crazy here. I'm not playing 50% Latavius Murray, but I do think I'll probably come in over that 15% just because he has a decent role. I think I'm expecting a decent role, and he is, 15% ownership, 4,800, kind of one of those plays that I like a little bit better than the ownership.
Man, it's tough to get the Rachaad White or James Cook at those current price points.
That's the thing. They're just kind of in no man's land. Like if they were 1,000 cheaper, I would have a lot of interest. It's just kind of, I don't know. There are other players that I like better at those price points and even a little bit cheaper. So I just don't think I'm going to get to the running backs a ton. Currently I do. I guess I have 25% Rachaad White, 16% James Cook in the flex, and not a lot at captain. So I'm not going to be like far under the field, but I do anticipate I'm going to be underweight to the more expensive running backs, and I'm going to get to more than the field of the cheap running backs.
By the way, guys, in case you didn't know, you see that banner up top, ownersbox.com. If you still haven't signed up yet, you want a free week of all of our tools. You saw the Sims tool, the contest generator, ownership projections, top stacks, boom bust, premium Discord, lineup generator, everything. I mean, literally everything. There's no add-ons necessary. You get all of it for the entirety of the week. Every slate, every game, every showdown, you name it. Sign up at Owner's Box with the link in the description or the one in the chat. Jordan can throw it in there. $10 deposit minimum. That's it. Now, they have a $500 first match deposit bonus. If you have the means to do so, certainly would recommend taking advantage of that, especially because these contests have been overlaying big time. And when there's dead money in there, usually wise to go and try and get some of that. But all of our tools, Sims tool, which is massive, contest generator, so you don't need anything else to build those lineups. Does it all for you. You can make adjustments. It's customizable, ROI boosts, all of that stuff. It's not like you just have to play what's given to you. You can move things around, change things to your liking. All of our showdown tools, everything, 100% free for the week. So if you're not on Owner's Box yet, by the way, Sims tool, we have it for Owner's Box. We have it, ownership for that, projections, everything. Super flex. You don't have to play defenses. You can flex in a quarterback in the super flex. Really neat format. And you're starting to see them do it on DraftKings too. So if you're not there yet, $10 minimum deposit, ownersbox.com, link in the description and chat. Get all of our tools free for the entirety of the week. All right, we got about 15 minutes. I want to hit on this super chat first. Then we're about to talk about cheap wide receivers. I think that's probably the most important thing here. Sean Preston, how are super chats distributed? L field Kincaid large field Kincaid captain. I take 100% of them, Sean. No. I don't see any of them.
Yeah.
Which is okay. It depends. It depends how we do it. Sometimes it might be like a bonus for contractors. It depends. But they go to our guys. I can tell you that. They go to our guys. The ones that need it the most too, which is so all the contributions go a long way. Appreciate you. Large field Kincaid captain. I guess that's just a question, but yeah, absolutely.
Yep, absolutely. He's one of the best captains out there, I think.
Michael, Devin Tompkins' projection seems low. Hardy projected higher, just doesn't feel right. Even taking Knox into account. Yeah, it's tough, man. I think one of the things you always have to consider there, though, Michael, is that they are almost 10-point dogs, right? So they do have a significantly lower implied total than the Bills. And that's always going to be reflected in projections, especially with these guys, low target shares. So it doesn't shock me, Neil, but I'm also not opposed to getting to Devin Tompkins.
Yeah, no, I think Devin Tompkins certainly a viable play. As I said in my article earlier, run routes on 34.1% of Bucs dropbacks on the season. It's pretty steady in week 7 as well. He's averaging about 3 targets per game. I think he's in play. He's 1,600. We have him projected for very little ownership as well. We have him 7% projected ownership. So in the single digits there, he'll have opportunities. You kind of just need one of those splash plays to pay it off. Certainly something that could happen. I'm not going crazy with it. As I said, 3 targets per game. It's not like he's getting crazy opportunities out there, but he is out there and he's getting relatively low ownership. So I have some interest.
All right. And by the way, yeah, the implied totals here, 26.5 Buffalo, 16.5 for Tampa Bay. So that's always going to influence things. But Tompkins, again, once you scroll past Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, look at the target share for Tampa Bay. There's nobody that just jumps off the page at all. That's the funny thing about this slate. It's Godwin's and Evans at 25%. You know what the next highest target share in the season is for this Tampa Bay team? 11.7, Neil.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's pretty spread out there. Cade Otton's the guy who's like third in terms of like he's running routes out there at the very least. But yeah, there it's pretty spread out in terms of who they are running out there. Let's see. Do I have? Yeah, I have week 7 pulled up, so I can just look at the most recent week. Tell you what happened. We had in terms of route participation, we had Cade Otton leading the way with 83% route participation, Chris Godwin 78%, Mike Evans 74%, Rachaad White 74%, and then Trey Palmer was next at 63%. And then he kind of dropped down to Devin Tompkins ran routes on 30% of dropbacks. Raheem Jarrett was actually out there for 20% of dropbacks. It's pretty spread out there. They have a lot of guys who are out there for some snaps there. Trey Palmer being the one that kind of surprised me. Like I have not given a lot of thought to, or I've given zero thought to Trey Palmer on main slates. And I'm like 63% route participation is a little bit interesting. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of Godwin and Evans are the guys you want. Cade Otton is at least out there. He actually had 6 targets in the most recent game. That's sort of interesting. And then your kind of dart throws after that.
Let me get to this Will Griffey super chat. Appreciate you, Will. $10 super chat. Fellas, 12 lineups in a single entry tournaments. Okay, so I guess just spreading these out. 92% Diggs and Allen, 58% Kincaid, 42% White, 3 Allen captain lineups and 1 Diggs captain lineup. So I don't know where your other 8 captain lineups are. Yeah, you can't go wrong. You saw we just ran those sims, and those were for larger field, MME contests, but still, we had, what did I say, like 50% Diggs at captain or something crazy. So, and Josh Allen too. These guys they combine for what? Top play probability is 62.5% between the two of them.
You're talking Diggs and Allen. Yeah, they're just the clear best in the field. Like Diggs and Allen have just been crushing it all year. We have no reason to believe that they're not going to continue. Like Diggs is just being targeted a ton. His target share is off the charts this year. They're the 2 best plays on the slate by far in terms of projection. So makes sense to get a lot of them. I'm going to have both Diggs and Allen in a majority of my lineups tonight.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about a couple other cheap receivers. Then I want to run the lineup generator with the chalky lineups and see what we can pull out of that, because we still have 10 minutes to go. Who are your favorite? And we'll try and keep this relatively quick so we can get this lineup in case anybody wants to make some tweaks. Who are your favorite cheap options going to be here?
Yeah,
at
so
receiver.
At receiver, my favorite cheap options would be. That's a good question. All right, let me take a look real quick. So we have Devin Tompkins 7%, Khalil Shakir 9.7%. Man, it's ugly. It's just so spread out for me in terms of who I'm playing of the cheap guys. I guess if I had to pick a favorite of them, I would go to just the best point per dollar guys. We have Deontay Hardy as the one who he's 1,000. He played 27% of snaps last week. You would expect him to take on a little bit of a bigger role here. So I think Deontay Hardy is probably my number 1 in terms of like likelihood of actually doing something tonight. Then it gets pretty gross pretty quickly. I guess Trey Palmer, if you count him, he's 4,200, not like super cheap, but as I said, he was out there for 63% of routes run in that most recent game. Khalil Shakir, I would expect to take on a little bit of a bigger role. Man, I got to be honest, it is hard for me to rank these guys because none of them look great, and all of them are like, if he scores a touchdown, he could be the guy. So I think just in terms of like likelihood of scoring a touchdown or having one big play, it would probably be Deontay Hardy number 1, especially at that price tag of 1,000. Trey Palmer probably number 2. Actually, if Cade Otton counts, I would count Cade Otton ahead of Trey Palmer. Obviously, if Dalton Kincaid counts, he would be my number 1 easily. But if you're going below that price tag, it would be Deontay Hardy. Actually, Cade Otton, then Deontay Hardy, then Trey Palmer, then probably Khalil Shakir. Take your pick of Devin Tompkins, Trent Sherfield, Raheem Jarrett, and if you want to, I'm taking some shots on Andy Isabella. So I don't want to downplay it. I hesitate to put Andy Isabella high on that list because I think he is the one who is the most likely to just not even see the field. I still think that is a reasonable, like maybe even a likelihood that he does not see the field, despite what this beat reporter is telling us. With that said, just the idea, like in a very, very large field GPP, that is being floated around by a beat reporter that he might be playing some slot tonight makes me at zero ownership. I have to include him as somebody that I am actually going to be playing some of.
We had a question from our premium Discord. What's up, Kevin? Laffy, McLaughlin or Latavius Murray as the last man in on DK? Yeah, this is another one to me. Like if you're talking large field tournaments, I think I'd rather just take my chances on Latavius Murray. If it's a like flatter payout, lower, smaller field, I don't mind going McLaughlin there. McLaughlin's in a spot where with this Bills defense, you could see them get into range and then he has to kick like 3 or 4 field goals. That intrigues me, but Murray could also fall into the end zone twice. And if he does that, you're going to need him. I do like Murray more in large field tournaments.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
All right, you got the lineup generator pulled up for us, Jordan. We still got a couple minutes here. Colin said, "Dude won't play an offensive snap." Yeah, if he's talking about Isabella,
he's talking about.
He said
he's been talking about the whole show.
Even bringing, no, it's not irresponsible to bring up.
It is our job to bring it up. We're telling you the information.
I didn't see that part. You're just he's telling you what a beat writer said.
He's been complaining about it the entire show. I'm telling you what a beat reporter said. I don't know why you wouldn't want us to at least mention it. And like the smart play is probably not to play Andy Isabella. He hasn't played all season. But if a beat writer is bringing, like an actual Bills beat writer is bringing it up, wouldn't you want us to? You wouldn't want us to mention that type of stuff? I'm just assuming that a beat reporter is more plugged in than we are.
Yeah, I would think you would want us to bring that up. Anyway, go to DraftKings Showdown and then just go to chalky lineups. I want to see what kind of stuff we're getting here. You want to go standard projections, Neil, or do you want to with the lineup generator? Link in the description, by the way,
and see if we can find some nice constructions in chalky lineups.
No, I know, but where you can boost one team up or down.
Yeah. You want I would say let's just go standard.
All right, go standard. So we'll play these projections the way they are. Let me pin this so I can see the screen here. If you want to check the lineup generator out too, as always, the link is in the chat or the description. All right, so let's see what we got here. Allen, Mayfield, these are chalky. Kincaid, Hardy, James Cook. All right, so a 4-2 with Allen at captain. So what's and by the way, yeah, you can see the optimal projection. You can see how chalky or contrarian something like this is. Scroll up for a second. This has no Diggs, does it? Yeah, that's the crazy part, because if Diggs only finishes with like 10 fantasy points and you've gone and the Bills score a lot of points, a lineup like this that looks chalky based on, individual ownerships, a lineup like this could crush just by playing one thing different with no Diggs.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just it's been Diggs all year. It's probably going to be Diggs again, but like there should be, you would expect there to be some games. We've seen every year there's going to be some games where Diggs just is not the guy. So I think it's totally viable to play some lineups that don't have Diggs in it.
Go to the next lineup, Jordan.
All right, I just got a set of lineups in. Starting to worry there.
Oh, see, here's a crazy one. Like that's
Mayfield with Keyshawn Vaughn and Rashad White. So
Mayfield, by the way, you can discard the lineups you don't like. They're all plus EV lineups that are simmed thousands of times behind the scenes. Once you save all the ones that you like, it'll take you to the next page. You can upload them to CSV. For those of you guys that don't know what you're looking at. And you can see all your individual exposures, and on a main site or whatever, you can see your stack exposures. I just don't think there's enough meat on the bone for Vaughn and White to get there, but maybe I'm wrong.
And for it to be like Baker and the captain, you need him to be throwing touchdowns to multiple places. So here, like usually I want Baker with primary pass catchers. He doesn't, like Vaughn and White certainly could be involved in the passing game. So it's plausible, but yeah, it's not my favorite lineup.
All right. Let's see the next one here. Allen got, there's my boy Tompkins. I don't know why I'm planning. I'm not planning a flag here. I don't know why I just say that. Allen, Godwin, Tompkins, Shakir. See, I love that. I love that lineup. I love it because
Allen with
if
Shakir.
they're
Yeah,
playing, if you're playing from behind, yeah, okay. So Baker Mayfield, it's possible that he still doesn't get there with a lineup like this, and it works because Tompkins could have like 2 for 12 and a touchdown, and at that price, it might get you there.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about this lineup is that it's only leaving 300 on the table. So I will say when I'm doing the lineup generator divide and I'm looking at the chalky lineups in particular, I'm basically looking, the only thing I'm looking at to start is the salary, and I'm waiting to find a salary that's leaving at least like 800 or 1,000 on the table. And
You
then
really
those are the
think
ones
that's
that I
going to
look
be
close
that
at.
chalky though, with no Baker and then 3 skill players for the Bucs with Khalil Shakir in there?
Yeah, it's fair. We do have some low owned pieces here. It's probably not going to be duped, 100 times, but it wouldn't surprise me if this is duped 20 times, which at that point,
okay,
maybe.
Okay.
It's really hard to know. Something like I've been shocked sometimes at the low duplication of some lineups. So honestly, with Tompkins in there at 7%, Shakir at 10%, it might not be super chalky. Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
$3 without Baker. That was my thing. I don't know. Let's do one more lineup. Let's see what we got, Jordan. Go one more lineup here.
Now this one's leaving 3,000 on the table.
Wow.
We got the Bucs defense. We got both defenses in this one. So this is like a low scoring game where maybe all the receivers rack up PPR points, but they don't actually get in the end zone all that much. I will say Bucs defense, like they have a tough spot here against Josh Allen, but Josh Allen also tied for 3rd in the NFL in interceptions thrown this year. He's always been, a little bit interception prone. So I don't hate the Bucs defense here, and 2.7% captain ownership is kind of interesting.
Hey, you guys are the best, man. We had a shorter show today, but appreciate you hanging out. I hope everybody has a great rest of the night for sure. And you should follow Neil at PlayerQ DFS. I'm over on the Twitter at Loughy_D, LOUGHY_D. Thanks to Jordan Klein producing this one too. Long day for him. Long day for all of us. Let me tell you. Long day for everybody.
Very true.
Hey, we'll be back tomorrow with the strategy show. You'll be back with Greg on Saturday for the tournament strategy show. Sunday, we got everything. And NBA's popping, man. Oh, last thing. If you're playing NBA as well, 20% off all of our tools. And any package you want, whether it's like the Sims Max or just the lineup generator, which is our, cheapest but best bang for the buck. You just saw it right there. Best tool we've got if you're just trying to get your foot in the door. 20% off everything for the first week if you're interested. But either way, appreciate you guys. We'll see you back here for the next one. Peace.